All right, man, this news broke about 35 to 40 minutes ago via Hayes Fawcett of On 3, as you guys can see right here. Ousmane Kromah is going to be a Georgia Bulldog. I predicted him to go to Auburn. I was wrong. This made a lot of sense to me. Him and obviously Alvin Henderson being a 1-2 punch. Now he joins a very loaded and very big running back room for the Georgia Bulldogs. Great news for obviously Georgia fans, right? You get a 4-star prospect. You just lost to Stephon Shivers as well today, but getting this guy in your backfield, you got to feel good. And the great part is he's probably not going to have to start or get significant play time early. So he could be able to rest them legs, learn the system, learn the scheme, and be able to be a valuable contributor to Athens and the Bulldogs. Man, we're going to talk a little bit about it here in just a sec. Now, in terms of recruiting for Georgia, they have a top 5 class according to 247, right? A lot of primetime prospects, 5 stars, 4 stars, you name it all, right? The good thing for Ousmane, though, is this right here. There's only 2 running back recruits of this 2025 class. Could they look to add another? Potentially, but I feel like Georgia got their guy. Bo Walker's no slouch, right? Won a state championship last year with Cedar Grove. Obviously, was ineligible, I should say, for transferring, trying to go to Stockbridge. Followed a former offensive coordinator, didn't allow to play, so he's playing with Raven Gap this year, but an electric runner. So then when you look at the totality of the class, Bo Walker, Ousmane Kromah, now you look at the players that Georgia has. Now, potentially, Branson Robinson might not be there next year. We have to see what happens. He's not getting a lot of PT this year, right? It's Trevor Etienne, and then it's Nate Frazier who's getting a lot of load. We see what Nate Frazier did week 1 with Trevor Etienne being suspended, what he did up against that really good Clemson defense, right? He torched it, right? Had a pretty big game, had a touchdown, did his thing. You know what I'm saying? He's going to continue to get better. So you're looking at next year possibly, if Etienne returns, those 2, and your third could potentially be a Ousmane Kromah competing and also a Bo Walker. Obviously, you guys know that the running back room for Georgia, they like to do it by committee, right? They also got Cash Jones as well, who's played a pretty significant role for the Bulldogs again this year as well. So you're looking at potential. He might be a third string, maybe 4th string, depending on how camp goes and how early he gets on campus. He could be an early enrollee. I don't know that information just yet right now, humbly. But it's going to be interesting to see what role he can carve out. But the good thing is he's going to be so fresh because he's not going to have to be that bell cow guy. Even if he comes in, let's say Trevor Etienne leaves, right, and goes into the NFL or, decides to go to another school, you're still going to probably start Nate Frazier, and then you have him potentially. Have to see what happens with Branson Robinson if he sticks it out. But you got to feel pretty good if you're a Georgia fan. Having his 2 backs kind of coming in, 2 really good backs. I've seen both of them play. So, yeah, man, Georgia continues to be the premier program in the country, and this is why. They're landing on guys like this, guys that had a strained calf running for over 300-plus yards against a really elite Houston County team. The kid's that good, man, and Lee County's balling right now. For those that don't know, they're 6-0 this year. They got a big game coming up against Coffee. Got postponed because of Hurricane Helene, but definitely expect a big game, out of him, man. He continues the ball, and he's a Mr. Georgia watch list performer as well. This kid's a stud, man, and it makes a lot of sense, obviously, with him being middle to South Georgia. His mom probably not having to travel as far to go see him. Maybe if it was Auburn or if it was Florida State, she can go right up the road, probably about 2 or 3 hours, but that's a lot better than maybe going to some of the other schools. So shout out to him for his recruitment and obviously commitment to the Georgia Bulldogs. They're getting a stud and a potential guy. Now, I will tell y'all, he is bow-legged, you know what I'm saying? So when you see him run, don't be surprised. But this kid is a stud, man. One of those plays I've seen had 3 or 4 defenders on him, bounced off it with just pure strength and rushed it into the end zone. This kid is the real deal. I'll tell y'all that right there. So I was wrong in saying Auburn, but nonetheless, man, Georgia Bulldogs get their guy. Y'all should be ecstatic. This kid is a stud.